welcome back to Living Life with Christ. And I want to talk about something that I don't feel like a lot of Christians on social media talk about, because one thing I try to do when I come on here and I talk to y'all about my relationship with Christ and my walk and my journey with God is I'm very big on being vulnerable and not just talking about, the good things that God blesses me with, but when I say the good things, like not just talk about the good moments, but also the bad. Not just talk about how I feed my flesh. Not how I feed my spirit, but how I feed my flesh. And for example, lately I have been not really in my Bible. I've been struggling to fast. But I've been trying to read my Bible. Like I read it this morning. And I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. Like, I don't really like coming on here, and I say this all the time when I go back to sin. I don't really like coming on here and knowing and talking about God and talking about, turn your life towards Christ and do this and do that when I'm struggling with lust. When I'm struggling with having sex. When I'm struggling with, I don't smoke anymore, but when I'm struggling, I would say right now, the biggest struggle for me is lust. And sometimes believing in what God said and depression. And I feel like I was just honest with God and I said, I want to be wild. I don't know how to really explain this, but I want to be wild. I want to be free. I want to live life on the edge, and I want to, I guess, be rebellious in that way. I want to, but I know rebellion is not good for my relationship with the Lord. Y'all understand what I'm saying? I want to go to the club. I want to get drunk. I want to have sex when I want to have sex. I want to drink when I want to drink. I don't want to smoke anymore. Honestly, I'm kind of over that. I am over that, because I could smoke if I wanted to. Like, if I wanted a blunt, I could literally go get a blunt. I just don't smoke. Like, the thing about it is, the difference between, like, other stuff I've struggled with versus weed is always accessible to me, because I know so many people who smoke. It's easy to hit somebody up and be like, oh, can I smoke? Or can I hit this blunt with you? I know so many people I have siblings who smoke. So it's not like it's hard for me to smoke. I just don't do it because I'm just not into it anymore. Doesn't mean better than anybody else. I'm just not into it. I just have no desire for it anymore. But it's still that desire for sex. It's still that desire for comfort, but in a worldly way. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm just honest with God about that. Like, I want to be wild. I want to get drunk. I want to go to the club. I want to dance all night and, and honestly, it's not hard for me to go to hit up old friends or find some people that do that and go and get drunk. It's not hard to find that. I'm looking over here. It's not hard to find that. But the thing is, my spirit is louder than my flesh. I also don't want to turn my back on God. I also don't want to go back to things that God told me to leave alone, because I feel like what would be so heartbreaking is if he left me to the things that I chose over him. And I don't want to do that. It's so easy to just go back to your old self, but I know there's no need. And I feel like right now, like I'm fighting to going back to my old self, fighting old habits. Lately, I just wanted to smoke a blunt. I'm not a blunt, I'm black. I haven't smoked a black since 3 months before I turned 18. I'll be 22 in 2 months. Last time I smoked a blunt, I turned 18, 2021. That's 2025 now. That's 4 years ago. Not a blunt, a black and mild. That's 4 years ago. I haven't smoked a black in 4 years, and all of a sudden, I had this feel like I want to smoke a black. And I'm fighting it because I don't want to. It's just something in me. I just don't want to. I don't want to turn my back on God. Because when I was in the streets, when I was doing what I want to do, when I was getting drunk and having sex and doing what I want to do and I get ready to do it, when I was living like that, I was around people who didn't care about me. If I died, them folk wouldn't shed a tear. I was putting myself in situations that show I didn't care about myself. Giving my body to men who didn't even care about me. Who hated my guts. I know some of y'all out there have experienced that. Been giving your body to a man that literally hates you. Like, literally hates you, jealous of you, tries to talk down on you, all that stuff. And sometimes my ego would tell me sometimes, like, my mind, I know I still run tracks around his mind. And I have to tell myself, like, nah, like, stop. And it's like, I feel like if I was in my Bible as much, if I was in my Bible, this is why when we pray the Lord's Prayer, he says, and give us our daily bread. Because we need daily bread. I need daily food for him. I feel like I'm getting to that point of understanding, like, I cannot even go a day without God. And I do, but I'm just saying I can't go a day without getting to my Bible, because then I start thinking about old habits. Like lately, when I've been running from lust. I've been running. I've been sprinting. I'm talking about Usain Bolt out this joint. I've been running from lust. Then I turned around and I had sex. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see a point in lying. Because God seen it. He was there when it happened. You know what I'm saying? But I just kind of feel like... literally right after we did it, I said to him, I said, dang, I shouldn't have did that. I said to him, we shouldn't have did that. We shouldn't have did that. He said, oh, it's in my culture just to, have sex whenever you want to, whatever. I said, but it's not in the godly culture. That's not in the heavenly, that's not kingdom-minded. That's not in the heavenly culture. You know what I'm saying? To just be sleeping around and giving your bite to everything. And I had to ask God today, I said, why is sexual sin the only sin that you say to run from? Why is that the only sin that you say to run from? Like, every other sin you say, put on the armor of God and fight it. But this sin, you say to run from it. Don't listen to music that has it in it. Don't watch movies that have it in it. Don't watch shows that have it in it. Don't watch stuff that has, don't be around people that's talking about it. Don't talk about it. Because the moment it talks about it and getting your ear gates, you're going to start thinking about it. Run. Anything that has to do with sex or anything sexual, don't put your eyes on it, and don't listen to anything that has anything to do with it, because lust will creep in like a thief in the night. Literally. And it's like, I've been running. But there's sometimes, it's so hard, especially when you're on your phone, everything. Most of the time I'm on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter watching nothing sexual. I'm on Twitter, like, laughing at videos and stuff and seeing stuff about streamers and what Streamer University, and I don't even watch that, but I see a lot on Twitter, on TikTok or whatever. So yeah, like, then you go in the comment section, boom, there's a porn video. So now what's in your eyes? Or it's just but it's like I don't want to turn my back on God. I don't want to turn my back on God. I don't want to turn my back on God, because he was the only person that didn't turn his back on me when family left me. When as the Bible says in Psalm 27, when my father and my mother forsake me, God took me up. When I felt like an orphan in my own home, when I felt like a stranger in my own home, when I felt like I had no friends, no family, when I felt like I was in this world by myself, God was the only one that stood with me. Since I was a child, walking into the woods, talking to God, sitting down in the woods, talking to God. And I even still do that now, going walks, talking to God. And he's the only person that's ever really been there for me. I'd be a fool if I give it up for the worldly thing that's not going to care about me, that's temporary, that feels good. I saw this, what do you call it? A post the other day that said, the road to heaven feels like hell, but the road to hell feels like heaven. And I feel like one of the reasons why I don't smoke anymore, and why I didn't have the desire to smoke, because I got to some point where I got tired of running for myself emotionally. I'm the type of person where I get tired of, like, if I'm constantly going through something, I get tired of it. I got to switch something up because I keep going through this. So I start doing self-reflection. So trying to figure out why I keep going through the same thing. Am I doing something? I start to look at myself like, what are you doing that's putting you in that back in the same predicament. And when you smoke weed, you can't when you get upset or things don't go your way or life just life, and you smoke weed, and it's kind of like it numbs you to things. It numbs you to things. You don't see things. You're clouded. You're clouded. You don't see things for what it is, and then especially like you deal with stuff that you don't really have to deal with, but you deal with it so you can just smoke a little blunt. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time in my old house 2 years ago, I was smoking a blunt, and after I smoked the blunt, I went to my room, and I just sit on my bed and I started crying, which is so out of the norm for me because I was smoking to not cry, to numb me. But then I started to, then like out of nowhere, like I started to feel my emotions. So smoking wasn't helping anymore. I wasn't something I could cope with. I couldn't use it to cope anymore. And it stopped there. It didn't stop right after I got saved. I really didn't even stop smoking until 6 months ago. But I did still smoke vapes up till like I want to say February, and then I quit vapes too. But it's difficult. It's difficult, and as time went on, I realized that I need to sit with my emotions. I kept telling myself, I know you don't like being upset. I know you don't like being sad, and you always like to feel happy. You don't like to feel bad emotions, but sometimes you gotta sit with it. Because sometimes life is gonna cause you to sit in your emotions. Sometimes you gotta sit with it. Sometimes you gotta sit in it. It don't feel good. It don't feel comfortable. It don't feel nice. But sometimes you gotta sit in it. So I started sitting in it. So I started sitting in it. And that's eventually over time. And I would pray too and ask God to help me stop smoking. And he did. And one thing he actually helped me with when I was vaping is, he was like, Kobe, you keep asking me to stop. You keep asking me to help you with vaping. And you keep saying, well, I don't want to go into the gas station. I'm going to get tempted if I see the vapes. But then when you throw away the vape, then you go back and you go get it. You keep the pursuit of the vape. You say you don't want to do it, but then you keep going to the thing. You keep going to the vape shop and get another vape. So I had to literally throw it away. And then over time, and it's so interesting because literally right after I threw away the vape, I didn't even, when I would go to the store, it didn't even occur to me anymore to look at the vape store. It didn't even occurred to me when I went to the gas station and turned my head and look at the vapes. Now I see it, but it's not like a temptation. I'm just like, okay. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I know that was you. Even with smoking weed, I told God I was done. And it's just lust. But I feel like the reason why lust is so difficult for me because I've been dealing with lust all my life. I was molested at a young age. I've been dealing with lust all my life. So lust for me, since I was a little kid, was as normal as getting up and taking a shower every day. I really didn't even understand what sex was until I started having sex. But even then, I didn't really understand it until a few years after. And I feel like that's why lust is such a difficult thing for me, because it was there longer than smoking weed was and vaping. Well, I started doing that when I was 16, 17 years old. I started vaping when I was 16, 17, smoking weed when I was 17. I've been dealing with lust since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? I've been dealing with lust since I was a kid. So it's like, I've been fighting this longer. So it may not just take 2 years for me to get over it. But I'm just tired of it. I'm exhausted of it. And it drains me. You know how people have sex and they say, oh, they feel so good afterwards? It literally drains the energy out of me. I cannot do it and then get up and take care of my responsibilities. I literally lay in bed, drained all day long. I could do it at nighttime, be drained all day. I be having to force myself to get out of bed and do stuff when I have sex. I'm like, nah, I can't be doing this. This don't do nothing for me. It don't do nothing for me. I can't. It's I know this is not good for me. I know me want to drink, me want to have sex, me want to do what I want to do. I know it's not okay for me. I know this is not what God wants for me. I know I'm called for more. I guess I'm just tired of fighting it. But at the same time, I'm not gonna stop fighting it. I'm not gonna stop fighting to live for Christ and actually living for Christ, because I want that more than I want the drugs. Well, I don't want the drugs, but more than I want the alcohol. I want that more than I want the sex. I want to live for Christ more than I want to live in the flesh. I want to become holy more than I want to become worldly. I want to become more of a woman of God than I do a worldly woman. That's why I have this, it's a confliction within me. I'm conflicted. I'm being pulled this way. I'm being pulled that way. But I want to live for the Lord. But I can't help but to look at the worldly life and see that looks enticing. But I know it's no good for me, and I got to keep running towards the Lord. When does it end? There's other Christians that are completely surrendered to God. Do they struggle with this too? Or are we just going to keep talking about how everything's all good and dandy and everything's all rainbows and butterflies? Or are we going to talk about the moments where we are in the wilderness? Are we going to talk about the moments where we have to remind ourselves, you're out of Egypt. You're out of Egypt. You're not in Egypt no more. And I feel like the more, I used to judge that story a lot. I used to judge the Hebrews a lot for wanting to go back to Egypt. Oh, but when they was hungry and they was complaining to Moses about how they was hungry and they were to go back to slavery to eat, I used to judge them so much. And I was just like them. I was just like them. You want to go back to slavery for some food? When he's leading you to the promised land. It took them 40 years to get to the promised land. Why? Because how they were acting. They could have got there in 11 days. So I'm like, sometimes the part of me that wants to go back to Egypt. But I know Egypt is in the past and I can't go back. I am not Lot's wife. I will never be Lot's wife. I cannot go back. I will keep moving forward and won't look back. I can't go back. I can't be who I used to be because that's not who I am. That's not who I am meant to be. That's not who God has called me to be. But it's still that struggle. I hope this helps someone out there that struggles with the same thing that I struggle with, and yeah. So, thanks for watching. I don't want the video to be too long, so thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell your testimonies in my comments or talk about your struggles as well. God bless you all. I love you, but as always, Jesus loves you more. Bye.